What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, and this is your NFL Week 17 betting preview. We're going to talk about our favorite sides, totals, teasers, money line dogs, and of course, crack open our New Year's weekend six-pack of Against the Spread bets with the help of my co-host, a man who's now 11-0 betting Bills games this season. Got the first sweep of the year, just red hot. I don't remember stuck losing in about a month on a six-pack pick. Prime Minister of Degenerate Nation, Stuck. Happy holidays and good shit last week.
Yes, good weekend. Huge Ravens win for my future and for Lamar MVP.
Yeah, boy.
That worked out perfectly. And look, the Browns played Case Keenum. Now they're going to play Trevor Siemian and then Jake Browning. So the Ravens getting that win. I mean, if they would have lost to the Dolphins, the Browns easily could win out, and then the division would have been very much in question. So a huge win for the Ravens, all things considered. I will say that I was on the Vikings with you. That was brutal. Number one, all the Vikings got hurt. Hawkinson, Addison, one of their O linemen, but the some of the calls in that game were absolutely brutal. And by the way, the Vikings averaged 7.6 yards per play to the Lions 5, outgained them by a yard. And yeah, they had 4 turnovers and still had a chance to win the game despite all the injuries, despite that horrendous roughing call that basically decided the cover. And it's funny that the NFL has, I don't know why we don't have the option to just look at these really quick like we do in college with targeting. I said this every year. Easy solution. These things change games. They can decide playoff spots. And we have all these rules in place to protect quarterbacks, which I get, but we can't be impacting games without having the opportunity to look at these. And despite all these rules to protect quarterbacks, week 17, starting quarterbacks now include Trevor Siemian, Joe Flacco, Bailey Zappi, Taylor Heineke, Nick Mullins, Gardner Minshew, Mason Rudolph, Easton Stick, Jake Browning, Aiden O'Connell, Jacoby Brissett, Tyrod Taylor, Jarrett Stidham, whoever the Titans decide to go with, maybe CJ Beathard. Hopefully Stroud is back. I mean, you got half the league has hurt quarterbacks. So yeah, that was a frustrating one. But yeah, it's a good weekend. Good Ravens win. But who cares? We're on to the next week. Let's get to week 17.
Yeah, and I do agree with you on, I think any 15-yard penalty should be reviewed. Like, even if they do an expedited review, they're just
they have the eye in the sky. Just look and say, oh shit, nah.
And they don't happen. It's not like they're super frequent, right? It's, you usually get 1, 2, maybe sometimes you get 3 in a game. But if you get 3 in a game, then all the more reason to be reviewing these things. So, yeah, totally agree there. But let's get into week 17. Just a reminder, no Monday night football this week. The slate is a Thursday night football as usual. Yeah, and then you got your one game on Saturday, and then you got the rest of the slate on Sunday, including Sunday night football, but no Monday. So let's start with we'll jump right into Thursday night. Quick programming note for the holiday coming up. We still have our normal episodes next week for week 18, but because New Year's Day is on Monday, we'll have our NFL recap episode out on Tuesday, hosted by Action Director of Research, Evan Abrams. Thanks as always for listening. On behalf of everybody here at Action, we do want to take the time to wish you and your fam, your loved ones, a happy, safe, and profitable New Year's in 2024, because I know people, when we get to the last pick, you probably turn the pot off. So just wishing you guys a happy New Year's right now. But let's kick it off with our final Thursday night football preview of the 2023 season. So we got Jets at Browns. Browns favored by 7.5. The total 34.5. I mean, the Browns have been rolling. Flacco's kind of getting it done. The Jets, I think, have the defense. I don't know what I'm going to get out of Trevor Siemian. Browns defense is banged up, but still formidable against these backup caliber quarterbacks. So, I mean, usually 7.5 with a total this low, you got to hammer the dog. But I really want no parts of this game. I know you usually don't like betting Thursday night stuck. You took your chances with the Saints last week, and I probably reverse jinxed you by liking the Saints. But any plays on this one?
No, I mean, Trevor Siemian he's worse than Zach Wilson, which is hard to do. And yeah, even with some of the injuries that the Browns have on defense, that defense at home against the Jets offensive line and Trevor Siemian, it's hard to see the Jets doing much. Flacco might make a couple mistakes, like he's, which could keep the Jets in it. I had a small lean to the over just because the Browns are just chucking it all around the field now with Flacco. They are just pass heavy. And then you could get some Flacco picks. You can get some Flacco explosive plays. You also could get some turnovers, some Siemian that lead to short fields. I don't know if I can trust the Jets off what the Jets offense can give me, but under 35, I would have a slight lean to the over. I think there could be some turnovers here, some short fields, Flacco throwing it a lot. This isn't like an old Browns team that just tries to hand it off. They are just coming out and throwing all over the field. So I'd lean a little to the over. I'd actually trust it more if Zach Wilson was playing now that it's come down below 35. But this is ugly. This is a pass for me.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, let's see, I just want to check the forecast, see if there's anything going on. I know this time of year in Cleveland, it gets kind of crazy. Let's see, Thursday. Oh, no, not too bad. Mild winds.
Yeah, only like 10 mile
temperatures in the
winds.
40s. Yeah, okay. So no weather to worry about in this one. So yeah, over. If you're gonna do it to yourself, I guess the over is probably
get ready for torture.
play.
But
yeah,
that's the way I would lean. I make the line like 7-3 or so. So nothing on the side.
Yeah, Browns by a touchdown. About if you want the hook, Trevor Siemian, good luck. So. Let's get to the more important matters, and that is our New Year's weekend 6-pack. All right, Stuck, you opened up a nice 9-point lead, 64-55 with the you hit your both 2-pointers, your 1-pointer, and the 6-pack. You hit your total, and that gives you a bonus point. So you got 7 last week. I only got 2 with the Vikings.
I know sweat Panthers over. I should have got paid double for that.
Oh my goodness. That was probably your best play of the week. Like that game was about to go over in the first half alone. It was nuts. And of course, more Packers receivers got hurt in the middle of it. Yep. But all right. So I got to stage a little comeback here for my first pick in the first overall of the week 17 New Year's 6-pack, going with the Raiders plus 3.5 at the Indianapolis Colts. And when you're betting this late in a year, you got to look at, okay, what is the market kind of not taking into account here? Obviously, we know that Jonathan Taylor's back from the Colts. That's good. Pittman's still in protocol. I don't know if he's gonna play this week. I know he had a shoulder and he's still in protocol, which is somewhat concerning. So didn't practice Wednesday. So that's something to monitor. But I think what's really being a little bit underrated here is the Raider defense. Now, obviously, saw them come up big against the Chiefs with some turnovers, but and against the Chargers with some turnovers as well. But as you like to point out, Stuck, you got to kind of filter out turnovers when you want to get a better picture of just how well defenses are playing sometimes. So when you filter out turnovers, since Antonio Pierce took over in week 9, the Raiders defense is second in EPA per play allowed, 10th in EPA per dropback allowed, first in EPA per rush allowed. So that bodes very well facing a Colts team that they need to run the ball. Gardner Minshew is a turnover waiting to happen. He's a disaster waiting to happen. He's gotten pretty lucky this year. We saw it start to run out against the Falcons last week, and we've seen this in spots, but Gardner Minshew has kind of played above his head this year. So, the fact that the Raiders have been a lot better against the run, because their season-long numbers are not good, but they've been a lot better against the run. I think that's really helpful in this matchup. And, on the other side of the ball, this Colts defense really doesn't have a ton that worries you. Corners are kind of shaky, and especially the perimeter corners. You got Kenny Moore in the slot, but when you're facing the Raiders, I mean, Renfro's not really been the same kind of guy this year. Even he's been a little better with Pierce, but you got Adams and you got Myers playing well on the outside. Aiden O'Connell, not great either, but I don't think he's much worse than Minshew, if at all. So I'm getting the hook here. I think the Raiders are a live dog in this spot. You look at their weighted total DVOA, which weights the more recent games a little bit more, and the Raiders are 15th. The Colts are 22nd. So Raiders have been the better team, and even though the Colts have the better record and have some had that early season kind of swoon, and I do like Steichen, but I also like Pierce. I like the way the Raiders D is playing. I don't think this should be 3 and the hook here. So give me Vegas plus 3.5 at Indy.
Yeah, I mean, this Colts team's a fraud. We saw it last week. They were getting very lucky in one possession games. Minshew's been getting lucky. They've been getting lucky on defense with takeaways. There's a number of statistics I can go through that just screamed regression is coming for this team. And yeah, Raiders got a little magic going. They win out, Chiefs lose out, Raiders win the division. I doubt that'll happen, but
Jack Jones has been a difference maker for the Raiders.
He's been huge, replacing Peters. And yeah, they're playing really well now. You just have to hope that O'Connell completes a pass. I don't think I've ever seen a game where a team went on the road where the quarterback was 0 of 10 for 0 yards over the final 3 quarters against Mahomes with 4 kneel downs. He had 4 kneel downs, no completions over the final 3 quarters. But yeah, with the hook here, it's Raiders or nothing. Colts have some injuries too, like Moss, even Taylor with his thumb.
Pittman.
We'll see if Pittman gets cleared. And yeah, the defense on the back end. Yeah, O'Connell should be able to hit some throws to his receivers this week, and Minshew has a couple mistakes coming his way. So yeah, I like it. All right, for my first pick of the New Year's weekend 6-pack, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills minus 12 at home against the New England Patriots. Might as well just. All right.
Let's just move on. You won. Next.
Put the streak on the line here with the Bills. I'm not one to want to lay double digits generally in the NFL. I mean, double digit division favorites are just 45% over a sample of close to 300 games over the past 20 years. But this is the spot, I think. Bills had a brutal stretch, went out to LA. I love the Chargers in the spot, and the Bills somehow escaped. Now you come home, got an extra day of rest prep, refocus spot, revenge spot. They lost to the Patriots in embarrassing fashion early this season. And I think Hyde should be back. And guess who was a full participant today? And this is really good news for the Bills playoff runs. Daquan Jones, full participant, massive addition in the middle. The Patriots offensive line has injuries and issues right now. I don't know if Stevens isn't going to play, which means they can't run it, which is going to lead to Zappe mistakes. Zappe played better last week, but he's 46 out of 48 quarterbacks in adjusted EPA per play. Minimum 100 dropbacks, ahead of only Trevor Siemian and DTR. So I like the Bills here. When they win, they generally win big at home, and Patriots are just overmatched here. I see a couple of Zappe mistakes. I see the Bills coming out here and just letting Allen rip, because you're not really going to be able to run the ball. So I think that leads to more of an open game and get you more of a game script where you can blow out the Patriots, but I like the spot. I like Jones back. I think Hyde will be back. This defense is trending in the right direction, and I love the spot for the Bills. So I'm laying 12 at home. I think they come out focused early, and then if they build a lead for the Patriots, it's done. The Patriots just aren't going to be able to come back in this game. So putting the record on the line, give me the Bills minus 12 in Western New York.
Yeah, I mean, I'll trust you. I have no feel on this one. I wouldn't normally look at a 12-point favorite, but you've been red hot with the Bills. You've had a good feel for, when to buy, when to sell. Now you're jumping back on. And yeah, I mean, the Patriots are one of the worst teams in the league, so could easily see the Bills winning by a couple touchdowns. So don't hate it. And wishing you good luck to increase your streak to what? Would that be 12-0 if you hit it?
12-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo. Better. Maybe you need to start being a Bills fan. Forget the Ravens. Just
well, I'm a fan of both this year. I got
there you go
50-1 on the Bills to win the Super Bowl. So I'm trying, for those that followed those both futures, the goal is so the Ravens can help themselves out, help me out, and anyone who followed multiple ways. So if they beat the Dolphins, they lock up the 1 seed, and which is huge. Obviously, you get a bye, home field advantage, and then that sets up the Bills, assuming they beat the Patriots. If the Bills then beat the Dolphins in Week 18, the Bills win the division and clinch the 2 seed in the AFC, which means the Ravens couldn't play the Bills until the AFC Championship, which is ultimately what I want. Now, say the Ravens lose to the Dolphins, or the Bills lose to the Dolphins, then the Dolphins win the division. The Dolphins get the 2. There's a chance that, and by the way, if the Bills get the 2, they're most likely would maybe, based on probability, would most likely host the Colts. So I would love that too. But if the Dolphins get the 2, there's a pretty good chance that the Bills get in with the 7, which means no matter what, if they win on Wild Card Weekend, then the Ravens would play them in the divisional round, which would suck. So, yeah, I am obviously always an enormous Ravens fan, but for multiple reasons, for their 1 seed, for the Bills' chances to win the division. It's just a massive game that we'll talk about later. But yeah, let's run it back with the Bills. That was I think they'll come out focused here. That was I just had a feeling that game was going to come down to the fourth quarter. They were going to be sleepy as hell. I think they get refocused here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fascinating to watch. I mean, you're talking about a team that was one of the pass heaviest teams in the league, finding a way to do it, running the football. I mean, Stephon Diggs is he's playing on 80% of the pass snaps. He's not really producing. And I mean, so far, so good. But at some point, you figure they're going to get him back involved. So they got a lot of upside.
It would be pretty crazy though, just with Ravens beating Dolphins as favorites, Bills beat Patriots as favorites, and the Bills beat the Dolphins in a coin flip. The Bills would have went from 10% playoff odds 5 weeks ago to the 2 seed in the AFC. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills and the Chiefs just kind of went in opposite trajectories at the exact same time.
All because of the offsides changed so much in the AFC playoff picture. Just a crazy, crazy play that maybe gets the Bills in the playoffs, maybe gets them the division. Yeah. So where are you going for your second pick?
Let's run it back. Steelers plus 3.5 at Seattle. I look at this game and I'm not going to sit here and give you a ton of matchup edges for the Steelers or anything like that. They are the better team in terms of DVOA and weighted DVOA, which weights, recent games more heavily. They're 11th, Seattle 17th. Defense, Pittsburgh is 7th, Seattle's 24th. I already talked about this last week, but Rudolph is an upgrade on Pickett and Trubisky. If you look at adjusted net yards per attempt as a Steeler, Trubisky 4.9, Pickett 5.0, Rudolph 5.5. Seattle, something's off with them. Even when these wins, which, credit to them for getting a couple of, 3-point wins back to back and getting their season back on track, but they've held below 300 yards of total offense in 5 of their last 8 games. For comparison, everyone always talks about Pittsburgh can't move the ball and whatnot. Pittsburgh's only been held under 300 yards in 3 of its last 8 games. I think, both of these teams it could be a letdown spot for either team, really, but I'll take the points with Pittsburgh here. Tomlin as a dog, 64%, 56, 31, and 3 against the spread. Pete Carroll, when Seattle was favored coming off of a win, 20 and 31 against the spread, 39%. And we know Tomlin, when they play teams with equal or better records, 39, 16 and 1, 71%. Pittsburgh obviously dealing with injuries at safety and linebacker. Seattle doesn't throw over the middle, though. So that's not going to hurt Pittsburgh as much as it would against some, certain other matchups. And I did like what I saw of Rudolph. Obviously Cincinnati is not a good defense, so take it with a grain of salt. But just the fact that he's given George Pickens a chance, I think unlocks, more of their offense. And, hopefully you can also get Freiermuth going. So I think this Pittsburgh offense will be all right here. Again, Seattle, bottom 8 in DVOA on defense and trending down. They're actually 26th in weighted DVOA. So, they're benching cornerbacks and things like that. So I think Pittsburgh has a shot here. I'm getting the hook. So I like Pittsburgh's odds. Probably ends in a Seattle 3-point win. So give me the Steelers plus 3.5 in Seattle.
Yeah, Rudolph made some good throws last week. I always am a little just concerned because you just see that with backups. Like when does the expiration hit? Is it 2-3 weeks? Because we kind of know who Rudolph is. But I talked about this last week. Like Rudolph's career adjusted EPA per play, like better than Pickett's. It's right there with that. I didn't have any drop off. And then he's actually playing with confidence, whereas Trubisky had lost it. Bortles had just he lost the plot. So yeah, Witherspoon might be back for Seattle. He was in practice today, which will help them. But yeah, I'm taking the hook here is the only way that I would go, but I don't have a strong feel. Although it's science, either the Ravens beat the Dolphins and then sit everyone, or the Steelers win this game because Tomlin has to finish over 500. All right, for my second pick in the 4th overall, the New Year's weekend 6-pack, I'm going also back to the well with the Atlanta Falcons plus 3 at the Chicago Bears. This is a Bears team that I've liked over the past month or so. I finally started playing them, but that's when they were, underdogs. And now this is a different role for them. I know they covered last week against the Cardinals, but asking the Bears to win by margin with everything that's going on, I have to take the Falcons here. I make this line like 1. I think the Falcons are still a little undervalued. People hate the Falcons. People hate Arthur Smith, and there's good reasons for that sentiment. But they've also been super unlucky. Like this is a team before last week. They were 1-5 over the past 2 months in games decided by 5 or less. 4 of those came in the final seconds. And that's with Desmond Ridder basically handing teams the game with just mind-numbing turnovers. Heineke, for what it's worth, 15th in adjusted EPA per play this year, plus 0.104. Ritter's 31st, negative 0.028. I do think it's an upgrade. Heineke can also, he's just more, he makes some risky throws too, but he doesn't make I've never seen a quarterback make some of the throws that Ridder makes, so he just hands the other team the ball. The Carolina one is as bad as it gets.
That was this. I would say in the last 2 years, the Falcons probably have the worst interception, which is that Ridder one, and they also have the worst throw, period, which was the Mariota falling down on his ass and just launch. So, I mean, the only one I would say comes close is that Mac Jones throw when he had the tight end wide open against the Colts.
Yes.
Like it's either one of those two is the worst interception. I go back and forth because I think the Jones one was worse in the sense that like he literally had a guy wide open in the end zone, whereas Ritter, but then Ritter didn't even have a guy open and just threw it to the other side. I don't know which is worse, but yeah. Sorry, I digress.
No, it was crazy. So, and then when I look at this, and by the way, all 16, this will be the 16th Falcons game with a spread of 3.5 or less. First time in NFL history that's happened. Ridiculous. Every single one of their games is just a field goal spread. And all their games besides last week when they blew up the fraud Colts, all their games it ends 1 or 2 somehow. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to take the money line, don't, because the Falcons find ways to lose games by 1 or 2 all the time. But look, the Bears, I just think that this is the peak of the market on the Bears. For what it's worth, Bears fans, if you win out, and there's a couple of things that have to happen, but if you win out, the Rams and Seahawks lose out, there's a chance you can get in the playoffs somehow. You need a couple other things to happen, but that's your starting point, which is very unlikely. But the Bears, I think, peak of the market now. Here are their 6 wins this year. The Vikings with Dobbs, the Cardinals, outdoor pumpkin golf, the Panthers, the Raiders with Hoyer, and the Commanders. Like, that's as bad as it gets. I mean, those 6 wins are worth nothing to me. So they have been playing better. Montez Sweat adds another dynamic to their defense. Their offense has also been playing a bit better, but you can't run on Atlanta. Onyemata's back. And by the way, their offensive line, I think McGarry should be back. They got Lindstrom back. They were missing a number of their most important trench players in Carolina in that loss. But the Bears, Tevin Jenkins got banged up. Cole Kmet got banged up. And DJ Moore, I doubt I don't know if he's going to play. He probably will try to play, but he's not going to be at 100% with his ankle injury. So you're not going to be able to run at Atlanta. That's the strength of their D. And then you have Fields, offensive line injuries. 2 of your best weapons are banged up. So I think that plays into Atlanta's hands. I don't think that the Bears should be a field goal favorite here. I'll take the Falcons here, catching a field goal on the road. And the worst part about this is I actually think they find a way to win this game. And they still do have a chance to win the division, but they would need the Bucs to lose out. And then they play at the Panthers, which isn't impossible. But if they just would have beat the Panthers in that throw, be in prime position. But I like the Falcons +3. I don't think this should be a field goal.
Yeah, I'm always behind fading the Bears as favorites. I mean, they like you said, they have been playing better. That Sweat trade has worked out well. Fields is surviving in there, but this team still kind of finds ways more often than not to lose games. Fields is 4-10 against the spread as a favorite or as a dog by 3 or less. So usually the time to bet the Bears is when they're the bigger underdogs at least by more than a field goal. Definitely not as a favorite. So don't hate it at all. All right, for my third pick, the 5th overall of the New Year's weekend 6-pack, going with the Los Angeles Chargers +3 at the Denver Broncos. Like what I saw of the Chargers last week. I thought they did some, switch some things up on defense. They got more input from the players, and I think guys just played better. I like what they did with taking Derwin James out of coverage some, where he was just getting torched. And now, Jarrett Stidham, I actually don't think he's a massive downgrade, believe it or not, from Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson was not playing well. But this is also his first game with the Broncos, and the only guy who's really been showing up lately for Denver offensively is Courtland Sutton, and he's in the concussion protocol. And Jerry Jeudy struggles against man coverage. Chargers can still play that. Tight. I mean, they're playing Lucas Kroll and Troutman at tight end. Javonte Williams has hit a wall. Probably too much of a workload. McLaughlin's been solid, but they're still using that 3-back rotation. Chargers have been better against the run lately as well. And then Denver Denver's defense, they had that Miami game and then it looked like they improved. But as you pointed out, it was a lot to do with just getting turnovers. And when they don't get turnovers, it's a problem. We know turnovers kind of are somewhat random. So I don't expect, the way Easton Stick played against really these last 2 weeks, if he could just play like that, I think the Chargers can win this game in Denver, especially if Cortland Sutton misses. I just don't think that running game is playing well. Denver's now dead last in DVOA against the run. So I think, Eckler can have some success. Doubt you'll get Keenan Allen back, but that would be a bonus as well. You do have Joshua Palmer back. Everett's playing well. And I like the way Stick is playing as well. So, I think the Chargers are another one of these live dogs here. I got it at 4.5. Full disclosure. Mad at myself for not just taking the 5.5. I waited and then I figured Russell Wilson was going to get benched, but either way, I think this is another spot where the Chargers show up. They look rejuvenated against Buffalo. They looked like, even though their season's kind of shot, they just couldn't wait to get over Staley. I mean, it was just night and day. And now you have kind of another letdown spot for the Broncos, because with that Patriots loss, not like it's demoralizing, but now you're kind of playoff hopes are kind of shot. Benched your quarterback. So maybe you get the only thing I'm scared of is, maybe everyone just hated Russ so much that you get that same kind of bump if you're the Broncos. But I just don't think there's much difference between these two teams at this point. And I think the Chargers are trending up and the Broncos are trending down. So give me the Chargers +3 for what it's worth. Road underdogs with an average point differential over their last 3 games of -18 or more, which the Chargers have because of that big blowout to the Raiders, lost to the Raiders. Those teams have gone 61-31, 66% against the spread over the last 2 decades. So LA +3.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't have a strong feel, but that's the side that I would lean towards, and I'll be rooting for them because I have Denver under 8.5 wins. For my third pick and the 6th overall of the New Year's weekend 6-pack, I'm going reluctantly back to the New Orleans Saints +3 at the Tampa Bay Bucs. I don't have much separating these two teams. Baker Mayfield's played pretty well of late, but he's also putting the ball in harm's way and getting away with it. He's got 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, but 21 big-time throws, 19 turnover-worthy plays. He's been getting a bit fortunate. The whole Bucs team, if we look at our luck rankings, by the way, which whenever there's huge gaps in luck rankings, I mean, the betting on the team that has the massive negative discrepancy has been a cash cow, and the Saints have been one of the unluckiest teams in the NFL. The Bucs, one of the luckiest. Couple stats to point that out. I mean, the Bucs can't efficiently run the ball. They're bad on early downs. I mean, they're 23rd in EPA per play on early downs, but 12th overall. Early downs much more predictive of future success. They have 18 fumbles on the year. They've only lost 6. They've been so lucky on 4th downs. Their red zone defense has overperformed. They've won 4 straight. I think this is the top of the market on them. Baker Mayfield is a favorite for what it's worth. 13-25 against the spread, 34%, failing to cover by a field goal per game. Among 220 quarterbacks who have been lined as chalk in at least one game over the past 2 decades, he's the 5th least profitable as a favorite. So I think this Bucs team has overperformed a bit. I think Mayfield has some aggression coming. I get a lot of Colts vibes with the Bucs. And you should get the Saints' best effort here. They need to win this game. The Bucs kind of, they know that they can just beat the Panthers for the division. But I just don't have much separating these teams. It's a divisional game. Home field is negligible. So I'm going to take the field goal here in the divisional game, which should be a close game. The Mayfield regression is coming. And the Bucs just as a team have been extremely fortunate. Saints are on the other end of that spectrum. Carr has been so hit or miss. Like he's had sometimes he'll look good in this new offense, and sometimes he'll look completely lost. Hopefully you get Ramczyk back, but and hopefully you just get good Carr. But I think that this line should be like 1.5, not 3. So I'll take the Saints road divisional dog here in the game that could decide the division.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs have been a pleasant surprise. This is the time you fade them, though, when they are favorites. They, as you mentioned, Baker and Todd Bowles is a favorite of a field goal or more, is just 6, 14, and 2 against the spread, just 30%. So this is the spot. I was surprised that you picked the Saints first in our draft because you knew I wasn't going to take them. So, yeah, this is a Saints spot. I'm not going to touch it just because I just hate the Saints. I mean, like they were the right play last week too. And of course, where they go down like 3 scores before they woke up. But I do like the fact that Rashid Shaheed is now playing like 90% of the snaps. I think, he gives them that explosive element because it seems like they're all checked down or, deep, low percentage downfield throws. So at least with Shaheed, you got a chance to hit more of them. Carlton Davis is on the injury report. He might not go. Bucs defense has just been, some of the numbers schedule adjusted are a little better than the raw numbers, but this defense is exploitable. When you got Shaheed, you got Olave, you got Kamara. So I think the Saints have enough to win this game. What we really need is we need some bounty gate. So if we can knock Mayfield out, and then we never wish that anyone. I'm just joking, obviously. But if we can knock Mayfield out, then maybe the Panthers versus Kyle Trask, and maybe we get our Falcons future back.
I don't know. Look, if Bucs need to win, you see it every year. I'll talk about this next week. The teams that need to win,
that's true.
Playing corpses. You see every year 1 or 2 will lose. Yep. Divisional road game. It'll be the Panthers Super Bowl. I'll probably be on the Panthers that game, depending on where the line is. But I could see the Panthers winning that game. But yes, obviously it'd be much easier with Trask. But what will happen is, because the Saints play the Falcons. What will happen is the Bucs lose, and then the Falcons lose on a last-second touchdown, and the Saints get in the playoffs.
Like Heineke will get knocked out, Ritter will come back in, and the one handoff he did, the one time they don't call a handoff, he'll throw a pick or just fumble the ball over the goal line for a touchback, something stupid like that. Oh man,
NFC South, it's a special place.
I'm not gonna lie though, I am enjoying this season. I know a lot of people maybe the more casual fans are saying hey, it's so many backup quarterbacks started, so many, no real dominant teams. But I kind of enjoy this, it's kind of up for grabs. You're going to see some weirdness happen these last 2 weeks, and even into the first, maybe even the second round of players, you're going to see some really weird things. I always love that for an NFL season. So not mad at it. All right, that's going to do it for the New Year's weekend 6-pack here on the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. To recap, Stuck went Buffalo -12 against New England, Atlanta +3 at the Bears, and the Saints +3 at the Bucs. I went with the Raiders +3.5 at the Colts, the Steelers +3.5 at the Seahawks, and the Chargers +3 at the Denver Broncos. See if you could get the hook. That's going to wrap up our New Year's weekend 6-pack. Now it's time for our Week 17 Coach's Pep Talk. All right, this week's Coach's Pep Talk comes to us from Key and Peele, and we're going to dedicate it to the Denver Broncos because nothing's more demoralizing than losing to a quarterback whose last name rhymes with crappy, and your quarterback looking even worse. And now you got your backup quarterback because your season's essentially over. So, this one's for you, Denver. But I'm not even going to wish you luck because I'm on the Chargers this week.
Are you out of your goddamn mind? Do you want to go to war? Because we could go to war.
No.
I'm for real. So you better check yourself. You done messed up. Now take your ass on down to office right now and tell him exactly what you did. Get out of my goddamn classroom before I break my foot off in your ass. Insubordinate and churlish.
But let's go to our favorite total of Week 17. We're both 9-7 this year. I went first for the 6-pack, so you're up for the total. Stuck, where you going?
Let's go with Houston, Tennessee over 43. Making some assumptions here. I'm assuming that Stroud will start. He's been out for 2 weeks with a concussion. And if he does, I love Houston overs because he will attack downfield, and you certainly can do that against this Tennessee defense that also has a lot of injuries. Most importantly, Jeffrey Simmons, who's on IR, but they have other injuries across the board. I also think Will Levis is going to get the start. He'll throw it downfield. Both quarterbacks are also just not afraid to put the ball down the field, and that's kind of what you want. You don't want check down artists when you're betting it over in today's NFL. And Will Anderson, he's out of the boot, but I don't think he'll play. Blake Cashman, I doubt he'll be back. So,
Ward just went on IR. Jimmy Ward.
Yeah, Ward on IR. So their defense is trending in the wrong direction in Houston. Tennessee's defense is a tackle downfield. And I think Tennessee, the last time these two teams played, it ended 19-16 in overtime. Stroud didn't play. And, the total was 39 without Stroud. Tennessee went up and tried to run the clock out in that game because they said, hey, we're not playing, we're playing, the backup for the Texans. And I think that Levis is going to play, and all Vrabel's talked about over the past week is getting reps. And in that game, they ran the ball 30 times for 90 yards, couldn't really run it. I think that hey, let's see what Levis has got, right? So I think they're going to come out here and throw. Stroud's going to do that. And both, if you're looking at this game from a matchup perspective, you want to attack both these defenses through the air. And I think that's what's going to happen here. So I think it's going to be a pass-heavy game script with a lot of explosive plays. So I think this total should be closer to 45. So give me Tennessee, Houston over 43. Yeah,
I like it. As long as Stroud plays, I think even without Tank Dell, I still think they can get there. And Houston's been decent in the return game too. They have quite a couple of return touchdowns this year. So that's a little bonus. Maybe they can break another one in the spot. I am going with an over as well, rare over for me, but I like this Giants Rams over. And the reason being, I think Matthew Stafford is playing really well. He's 14 touchdowns, no picks over his last 5 games. Here are the Rams combined scores over the last 5 weeks: 51, 55, 68, 48, 52. Rams are getting to the high 20s or low 30s pretty consistently these days. Both of these defenses are outside the top 20 in DVOA. And, the Giants, their safeties and linebackers are playing well, but that's not really how you're going to slow down this Ram offense, because this Ram offense has, now with Demarcus Robinson playing really well, I guess Atwell was playing well to start the season, but that's my point. They have three formidable receivers, 2 really good ones in Kupp and Nakua, and the Giant cornerbacks, all 3 of their starters, Deonte Banks, Cordell Flott, and Adoree Jackson, rank 90th or worse in PFF grade among 122 qualified corners. Flott in the slot is 90th. Deonte Banks, who's banged up, by the way, is 105. And then Adoree Jackson is just having a miserable season. And he is 113th with a 48.9 PFF grade, 113th of 122 qualifiers. So, I know the Rams are going across country and playing outdoors. Doesn't look like the weather is going to be too bad here in this spot. I still think, Stafford has the arm strength to get it done regardless. And he's been very good against the blitz this year as well, which is always something that you have to look out for when you're looking to put up points on the Giants, because Wink Martindale, the Giants have a top 5 blitz rate this season. And on the other side, the Giants are going back to Tyrod Taylor, and that is going to big upgrade over Tommy DeVito, who, obviously a nice story, but Tyrod Taylor is he's competent. He can throw the ball down the field. He gives you scrambling ability as well. He gives you options in terms of the RPO, read option type stuff as well. If you really want to go there. Saquon Barkley, Darren Waller are healthy. So you can exploit the Rams that way if you don't want to, go outside, but the Rams are exploitable on the outside as well. Taylor and Darius Slayton have had a pretty good connection. So see if that picks back up again as it did with the big play against Philly last week. I still think Jalen Hyatt, might have one more breakout game before everything's all said and done. And Wan'Dale Robinson's playing well. So you got Andrew Thomas. I mean, the rest of the offensive line is still poverty, but Andrew Thomas makes a massive difference for this Giant team. It's the difference between them being, historically bad and reasonably competent on offense. So I expect the Rams to be able to move the ball and get some explosives with Kupp, Nakua, and Demarcus Robinson. And I expect the Giants to be able to counterpunch and kind of go back and forth with the Rams a little bit here. And if the Giants need if we need a backdoor score late to get over the total, you trust Stafford here. And the Giants probably are a live dog here. It's with Taylor, I think, in a healthy skill position group and a healthy Thomas. I think the Giants could hang in there, but this could low key turn to a shootout if the Rams are able to get, a couple of scores early with those wideouts, or if Kyron can break one. So like this one, like both teams' chances of, getting a score late if they need it to backdoor over. So I think this is another Rams game that gets at least to the high 40s, if not the 50s, with the Rams kind of, getting the blowout. So give me Giants Rams over 43.5.
Yeah, I don't mind this one. I also like the Giants. Huge upgrade in my opinion with Taylor. He's not going to turn the ball over, and he knows how to he can use his legs, his mobility in the pocket, and he can rip apart zones that don't have talented second defensive backs, which is what he'll get here. And the Giants do have some injuries on the defensive line, Robinson and Lawrence, so that could end up being problematic as well. But I think the Rams are probably at the peak of their market value. Everyone's talking about them as sleepers, and so I actually like the Giants now that Taylor's starting at 4.5 or better. I don't mind the over either. Yeah.
And full disclosure, I was thinking of going Giants in a 6-pack, but the line, another one of those lines that just I turned away, what came back, and went from 6 to 4.5. I make it right around 4.5. So don't really see any value. I do think the Giants are a live dog, but if the number keeps creeping down, because there's money coming on the Giants, if the number for some reason closed at 3, I think the Rams would still be the play. I just think the biggest mismatch here is that those wide receivers against the Giant corners. So I do think that the Giants will be able to hang, but if it gets down to a field goal, I'd have to come back on the Rams. But at 6, 5.5, 5, I was thinking G-men for what it's worth. But I think the best way to play this is a total, because both teams, I think, offensively are set up well. So that is our totals. Stuck has Titans, Texans over 43. I got Rams, Giants over 43.5. Now it's time for our favorite teaser of week 17. All right, if you're unfamiliar with teasers, it's just a against the spread parlay where you get, usually the standard is 6 extra points for each of your bets. The standard is usually a 2-team 6-point teaser. So for example, an 8-point favorite becomes a 2-point favorite, a 2-point dog becomes an 8-point dog. Stuck has a lot of great content out explaining how you want to bet these things, the numbers you want to tease through, the key numbers you want to tease through. So Google Stuckey and teasers, and you will find that. We are 10-6 a piece on our teasers, so 20-12. Sometimes there's some overlap here because usually you're trying to tease, as Stuckey you've talked about ad nauseum, trying to tease through the 3 and the 7 if possible. And this week it's not a ton of options, so it's one of those weeks where we're going with the same teaser. So break it down.
Yeah, let's go with the Chiefs down to 1. The Chiefs are offensively, they're a mess. I mean, they've been unlucky with like turnovers in the red zone, and there's some aggression from there, but the tackles are a mess. The receivers are a mess. So Mahomes isn't playing as well. Kelsey's on the decline, but they should be able to move the ball in this Bengals defense that doesn't have Reader, that gives up explosive runs, is vulnerable in the back end. This is a great bounce back spot for the Chiefs. So tease them down to 1 at home. The expiration date also is hit for Browning. And by the way, Browning, I mean, if you look, he played the Jaguars defense, which is in a steep decline. They had injuries in the secondary. Then he played the horrible Colts secondary. Then he got just miraculous throws against the Vikings, and then it all came crashing down last week. Expiration date is hit for Mr. Browning, and I don't think Chase will play or be at close to 100%. And then let's tease the Giants. I mean, the Packers from 2 up to 8. I don't know who's going to play receiver for the Packers. I mean, Dubs will play. We'll see on Watson, Wicks, Reed. But Aaron Jones looked great last week. And the Vikings have the same problem. Hawkinson is out. Addison is not going to be at 100% if he even plays, which makes that Vikings offense with whoever plays quarterback, if it's Jaron Hall or Nick Mullins, much easier to defend. Should be a 1-possession game. So let's go Packers and Chiefs.
Yeah, totally agree. I think this is a spot, I mean, I more of a gut feel because I don't really like laying these big numbers too often, but I do think this is kind of the bounce back spot for the Chiefs. I think they end up covering the 7 as well, but obviously there's a lot of downside, so rather tease them. And yeah, you don't know what you're going to get out of the Vikings quarterbacks. The Vikings are banged up, so teasing the Packers up to a 1-possession game. Jaden Reed back at practice. That's good news for Green Bay. So yeah, like that one as well. All right, time for our Moneyline Underdog Parlay. But as a reminder, the Action Network podcast is presented by BetMGM. You can use bonus code ACTION, ACTION, and get up to $1,500 paid back in bonus bets if your first bet loses. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now it's time for our Underdog Moneyline Parlay. All right, Stuck. You've been hot on these this year. Seven hits for you, just 3 for me. So we've hit 10 in total. Both came up short last week, but let's get it going for this week. Where are you going?
Let's go with, I'm going to switch it up. Let's get a little crazy. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers against the Jacksonville Jaguars. What do I want with these? Just quarterback uncertainty. The Jags are a mess right now. We know their defense is poor. Panthers offense has showed signs of life of late, playing a little better. But the Jags, Lawrence might not play. And if he does, he might not be able to go full strength, or he might not last. Didn't practice today. You might be down to CJ Beathard. You already have Christian Kirk on IR. Zay Jones might not play. The offensive line is a mess. They can't run the ball. All the pressure's on Jacksonville here, and everything's falling apart internally. With the quarterback uncertainty, let's take a shot with the Panthers.
Plus 230 for Carolina at BetMGM. I like it. I was thinking about that one as well. More fun than betting the spread with Carolina because you still never know what you're going to get. Although I thought it was promising what they did against Green Bay last week, but not every team has Joe Barry on the other side. I'll go with the Atlanta Falcons plus 130 at the Chicago Bears. And it's just as simple as I still think this Bear team is still a little green in terms of, knowing how to win games. You've seen them blow some leads. Seems like most of their games end up close in the fourth quarter. And Justin Fields has really struggled as when he's a favorite or he's not getting, more than a field goal on the spread. So I think the Bears, this is still kind of a toss-up game. You've talked about it. I think, with Tyler Heineke, the turnover risk they're more productive turnovers. He's probably going to be taking a risk if he turns it over, whereas Ritter, as we talked about, sometimes just gives the ball away in situations that, there's no benefit or upside if he accomplished what he was trying to. So like the Falcons here, I can easily see them defeating the Bears. Just hope Arthur Smith comes with one of his better game plans, because he's all over the place this season. So if you parlay the Panthers plus 230 at Jacksonville and the Falcons plus 130 at the Bears, you get parlay odds of plus 659. So some nice juicy odds this week. Of course, don't be afraid to just bet them individually as well. Always encourage people to do that. If you are parlaying, still bet your picks individually as well, because, the objective is to make good picks and hit them all. So you don't want to leave money on the table by just forcing yourself to be 100%. But yeah, Panthers, Falcons. Now it's time for the best of the rest, games we have not covered in any other segment, but are still, as they say, meaningful to some. All right, first up, we got the Saturday game, and I'll have a write-up on this. Stuck will have a write-up on Packers, Vikings, so look out for both of those. But we got the Lions at the Cowboys on Saturday. Cowboys favored by 6, the total up to 53.5. And Dallas, when I look at this game, I say this Lion defense still shaky, still not anywhere near enough to slow down Dallas.
The defense is horrendous.
Yeah. And I know who is it? Tyron Smith, I think, is banged up for Dallas. So it's not perfect, but at home, Dallas has been an absolute juggernaut in terms of scoring points. So I think want to look probably at an over somehow, some way. I'm thinking of maybe looking at the Cowboys team total over. I think the Cowboys get to 30 here. You also Dak favored by 6 or more, 30, 12, and 1, 71% against the spread. These are kind of the spots where Dallas tends to bounce back. 12 and 3 for Dallas off and against the spread loss going back to the last 2 years. Dallas at home against the spread 17 and 7 since 2021. So it could be a closer game. I don't know if I'd necessarily weigh the points, but like I said, maybe a team total over for the Cowboys at least. But what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I don't mind that team total angle. This is a really good spot too. They've lost 2 in a row. Lions were celebrating their first division win in 17 centuries last week.
Since Barry Sanders.
Dallas been a juggernaut at home. They should be able to just move the ball up and down the field at will. Detroit's offense could have some success too. I kind of lean the over in the game, but 53.5, which would be the highest closing, if it closed there, the highest closing over under of this season, and the highest since Dolphins Chargers last December, which closed 54.5. Totals of 50 plus, 27 and 12 to the under over the past 2 years. It's tough to get there with how defenses are playing, but I think that both offenses should have success, but I trust the Cowboys defense at home to make more plays. So, but I make it like 6-4, 6-5. So I don't mind that team total angle at all.
Yeah. And I think with the Dallas team total, one thing that helps is it's not outdoors, but you could get Jared Goff against some pressure, could get some mistakes from him, maybe another one of the Cowboys patented fumble or pick sixes. So that would also help, but look out for that. I'll have something on that. Next up, we got the Arizona Cardinals at the Philadelphia Eagles. Cardinals 10.5-point underdogs on the road. The total is 48. The Cardinals are kind of tempting here, even after they let me down against the Chicago Bears. Kyler Murray's still 15-5 against the spread in his career, 75% as a road underdog. I still don't think the Eagles have suddenly figured things out, just because they finally got a win against the, half of Tommy DeVito and Tyrod Taylor in relief Giants. So
Tyrod Taylor almost led them back to win. Exactly.
So I could see the Cardinals hanging around here, but the Cardinals, geez, they're they're so bad too. It would help to get Marquise Brown back. I mean, Michael Wilson just hit a wall. He's been invisible the last 2 games. I think Patricia's got them playing a little better on defense, but it's still sloppy. The vibes still aren't good. So, if you were going to make a case for the Cardinals, I wouldn't argue it, but what are you thinking here?
I guess if I had a bet, I would take the Cardinals, but there's so many things wrong with this Eagles team right now. I don't want to be laying double digits with them, but they could just line up here and have 10-minute touchdown drives running the ball against this run D. What did the Bears run it 39 times for 250 yards last week?
With no Foreman.
The Eagles could follow that script. And just wear down this Cardinals team with long drives. This is a pass for me though.
Yeah, then
even though under, but I think the Eagles might have these just long. The Cardinals D suck. They might just have these 8-9 minute drives that just suck the game away.
Yeah, but they'll also probably be efficient, which is the issue with.
Yeah.
That's why it's not a slam dunk. But yeah, I lean under as well. It's a bit high, but depending what happens early. I mean, if the Cardinals get the ball and let's say drive down the field and score and go up,
then it gets dicey.
Then it gets dicey quick.
Yeah, this is a pass for me.
All right, next up we have San Francisco at Washington. Washington starting Jacoby Brissett in place of Sam Howell this week. Howell, of course, benched each of the last 2 weeks. I think all of the sacks and that record pace for sacks early in the year started to catch up to him, and he kind of looks done. He looks a little rattled, and it's crazy because we talked earlier in the pod about how 5-6 weeks ago, the Chiefs were sitting pretty. The Bills look like they were, going to miss the playoffs. And also, Washington fans, because I follow every team in a variety of places, including even their Reddit threads. So I can see what
they were hyping him so hard.
They're like, we've got our quarterback. He's our quarterback for the future. He's our franchise guy. And now it's over. It's done. So it's too bad, but he can get a fresh start. Howell's always going to be kind of a dart throw. But they've looked better with Jacoby Brissett in this Bieniemy offense, but it's hard to truly judge because a lot of it has come in garbage time where they're down big, and they have kind of made these games competitive at the end. But I don't know, what do you think of is it just smoke and mirrors with Brissett because they're already down 20, 30 points when he comes in?
That's part of it, but he also Hal's lost his confidence. Brissett is Tyrod Taylor. Go look at the top 5 lowest interception rates in NFL history. It's Brady, Rodgers, Brissett, Taylor, and Tyrod Taylor and Brissett. So he's not gonna make mistakes. He knows where to go with the ball, so it's just a cleaner operation. I think it's an upgrade. I think it's just the Giants going to Tyrod Taylor. The 49ers, the thing is, the 49ers, if they were full strength, they would score at will against this horrendous defense. Trent Williams groin injury, so they got some injuries on the offensive line. Purdy stinger. Shanahan's about to meet with media now to give updates on them, so I don't know, but they might not be at 100% on offense. And this number is pretty high, but I should upgrade Washington a little bit more for having Brissett in there, but I'm at 13.5. So this is a pass, but it also could just be a sleepy spot for San. You can look at it one of two ways. They're going to bounce back, but emotional game against the Ravens, short week, going across country to play Washington. And if they don't have Williams, if Purdy's banged up, I could see them being a little flat here, actually, which might be a little counterintuitive, but I could see it going both ways. I do think it's an upgrade with Brissett. If I had to bet it, I would love 14 Washington, but as of right now, this is a pass, and I want to wait on some injury stuff with San Fran.
Yeah, I think if you were going to play this at all, if it's early in the week and Shanahan is just like, hey, Purdy and Williams aren't going to practice, but, we think they're going to play. So the line doesn't really move too far. You could also kind of take, I don't mind taking this plus 13 with Washington. And then, there's because that's still a pretty solid number. But you're getting all that upside of like Purdy potentially could get ruled out. Williams could get ruled out late in the week.
Or they just don't throw with Purdy and they just go real conservative.
Yeah. They just try to get out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
remember that game they were minus 10
and
they won 9-0.
Yeah. So I don't mind just taking kind of, taking Washington at the big number. I think it's more likely that it goes down than up actually at this point, just because
I agree.
Right now we're kind of assuming Purdy's in and Williams, like I said he was in. So if he gets ruled out, Friday or something, you'd be in a good spot.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Carolina Jack. Oh no, we don't have to talk about that now. So we get that done. Okay. All right. So last one is Miami at Baltimore. Ravens favored by 3.5. The total is 47. Jalen Waddle, high ankle sprain. They haven't officially ruled him out, but you can't play Jalen Waddle on a high ankle sprain. It's just I don't think that's feasible. So I think he's gonna miss. So they're not the Bills, but you do pretty good on the Ravens as well. So what are your thoughts here? I know we don't like Lamar as a favorite, but I kind of lean Ravens here just because Miami's been so bad against good teams on the road. But what are you thinking here?
Yeah, like the spot for the Ravens is horrible. Like they got this, they were hyping that game up, and then it's a short week coming back across the country. But then again, this is for the 1 seed. You're at home, and the Dolphins are also off of a big win. So yeah, I make it around 3-7 when trying to adjust for some of these injuries, but I want to see Kyle Hamilton is really important. We'll see what his injury status is, because he hurt his knee. It looked okay, but we'll see where he stands. The Dolphins injury situation, Mostert kind of got banged up. I'm assuming he'll play, but A-Chain is not 100%. Waddle, I don't think will play. Tyreek is not 100% explosive. So he's still going to put up his numbers. But he just wasn't as explosive last week. I think he got targeted 15 times. He had 9 catches for 90 yards. But without Waddle, they're so much easier to defend because you can they're going to bring pressure on Tua, and then they're going to have someone over top of Hill if there's no Waddle. And then who else are you worried about? Like Braxton Berrios. And then also you got Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson. They already have Connor Williams and Isaiah Wynn on IR. Javon Holland, he's still not back. He's important. They're missing Jalen Phillips. Yeah, he's massive up front. So, they're going to probably play a lot of zones, and Lamar rips them up this year. So, yeah, I think 3.5 right now is the right number. And I will be rooting like hell for the Ravens. If it was at 3, I'd probably look at Baltimore with all these injuries. But I think 3.5 is a pretty fair number here.
What about a juiced up 3? I've seen some minus 118s, minus 3, minus 118, something like that. Any interest or
maybe? No? If Hamilton's in and then Waddle doesn't go, for sure. And especially if Holland isn't back, yeah, then I can see it. I also think that McDonald is going to have a game plan that confuses Tua, especially with these offensive line injuries. So, yeah, I kind of want to get more. I wouldn't hate it because I do think that I don't think Holland's going to play. I don't think that Waddle's going to play. They're in the playoffs, so I know you want to get the 1 seed, but you can't you can't risk long-term injuries when you're in the playoffs. So yeah, I wouldn't hate that based on how I think the injuries are going to play out, but it is still bad, even though, the Dolphins are off a big win, it's still a bad, just emotional spot for the Ravens. I could see them coming out a little flat, even though they're going to have the crowd and it's a short week. They had a huge win. So I'm just a little worried about if they come out a little slow. It was a physical game. So yeah, maybe if you want, like, wait to see if Ravens live, if they get down early. But yeah, I just think 3.5 is the right number here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely leaning Ravens, so I'm going to be monitoring those injuries as well. That's going to wrap it for us here at the Action Network podcast. Again, everyone, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you. Have a happy New Year, and we'll be back Thursday. Throughout the regular season, throughout the postseason. Of course, you can hear more of me this week with my guy Sean Kerner, who's been killing it this year, talking fantasy, DFS, all that good stuff on the Fantasy Flex podcast. We also have our fantasy projection pod out right here on this channel. We also got the Action Network Discord server. The link will be in the episode description for that. And you can hear Stuck talking college football over on the Big Bets on Campus pod. That drops Friday morning. Stuck is on X at Stucky2. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app, where you can follow our bets or track yours. Happy New Year's, and let's get this money.
Let go. Go Ravens, go Bills.